This video tutorial is recorded to help you with a written pattern that you can find in the comments. Right now I need to see how close to put my stitches on this edging on the blanket. Let's say you don't want to ruin your blanket by experimenting on it. So what you can do, you can take the selvage that you cut off from when you prepare the fabric. This is kind of hard to put together, but this was like this, and I cut off the selvage, and now I have this piece. The selvage is usually non-stretchy, however, it's the same fabric, and so we can have an idea of how close we want the stitches to be. If you're using soft, minky fleece, you should be able to just poke your fabric with a small hook. Mine is size 2.75 millimeters. Otherwise, if you're working with a real fleece that is thick, like Antipil or Blizzard fleece or any other thick fleece that doesn't have these fuzzies coming off when you cut it, then you can use a small steel hook. So I would probably use a hook size 1.75 millimeters, or sometimes even smaller. Here I'm very lucky, I have a so lush fleece, and I am just going to show you how to make that first sample, the first row. You poke through the fabric about 1/4 inch from the edge, and then you pull the yarn through that hole. You stretch the stitch up so your hook is at the edge of the fabric and not closer to the hole, and then you make that single crochet, and then you need to find the perfect distance between the stitches, which will make your fabric lay flat. So I am choosing to go maybe 3/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch apart. And I keep going for several stitches. And then I can lay it flat and see if it lays flat. So after I practice on a little slice of fabric, and I feel good about this distance between the stitches, then I can do the same on the real project. To start the real project, I personally measure either 4 inches from the corner of the baby blanket. So here I'm 5 inches off, so some distance from the corner. What I don't want to do 100% is to start in the corner, because it may make your corner look very messy. So I want to start somewhere away from the corner, but giving myself a lot of distance to go on. Then when I get to the corner, I am going to put 3 stitches into the corner. So here I'm working on one of the sides, and I'm making my stitches approximately 3/8 to 1/4 inch apart using my smaller hook. And I go all the way to the corner. And when I lay it flat, it looks like it's laid flat, and it doesn't stretch the fabric, making it look like lettuce, and also doesn't cinch the fabric together with this edge. Here I'm inching closer to the corner. In this example, I am not going to count my stitches on purpose, so I can also show you how to cover up mistakes, especially when you get to the corners. So I have not counted. Now I'm getting to the corner. I think if I put just the corner stitch in here, it will be enough. So right now I'm going to put 2 more stitches in the corner to make 3 single crochets in the corner. So that was the second, and then I'm doing my third, and it all goes into the same little hole. Okay, after that I'm turning my fabric and I'm going around all the way to the other corner. Okay, so I will continue working like this, making flat here, 3 single crochets in the corner, and then I will meet you at the very end when I connect my last stitch to the first and move on to the next round. And this is what we do next. Here I am going to switch to a bigger hook. The hook that I use is size 4 or G hook. You can possibly use hook 3.75 millimeters or a hook up to 4.5 millimeters, all depending on your gauge, but I like to have this difference of about 2 millimeters, maybe 2.5 millimeters between my hooks. All right, I'm taking this out, and then I'm making a slip stitch right in the middle of the V of the first stitch. Slip stitch, and look how nice it looks. Okay, next step is to make 4 chains. All right, let's do 1, 2, 3, and 4 chains. And please do not work with a smaller hook anymore, because then it's going to tighten up your work and make it cinched, and it won't lay flat anymore. So you do need to move to a hook that is thicker. Then we are going to do a puff stitch. My puff stitch is yarn over, pull out, yarn over, grab yarn, and one more time, yarn over. So my puff requires 3 going into the hole 3 times with a yarn over, and then I pull it through and I secure it with a chain on top. I like securing my puff with a chain on top, and that is actually the correct way to do it. Then the next step is chain 1, and then I skip 2 stitches at the first row, 1, 2, and I'm going into the third stitch. I'm going into the third stitch with a single crochet. 1, 2, 3. I'm making a single crochet, so it looks like this. Then I'm making a puff stitch, so I'm going to pull out my yarn just a little higher to have the height of a puff stitch, yarn over and pull yarn out, yarn over, go in, pull yarn out, yarn over, go in, pull yarn out for a nice thick puff. Then I pull yarn through all loops on hook and secure with a chain. Then I go 1 chain, I skip 1, 2 stitches and go into a third stitch with a single crochet. I continue to do so until I reach the corner. I raise up my hook, yarn over, making a puff stitch, securing it with a chain on top. Then I make chain 1 and 1, 2, third chain with a single crochet. That's how you go. I'm getting closer to the corner on my round 1, and I am going to follow the pattern until I get to the corner. So 1, 2, third chain. So 1, 2, third stitch, the single, then a puff, chain, and now I need to go in the corners. So the instructions say that I need to do 2 of these puff stitch combinations into the very corner stitch. So remember, we have 1, 2, 3 stitches going in the corner. I am aiming for the middle one. And in this case, as I came to the corner, I don't exactly have 2 stitches to skip. I am actually going to a second stitch, and that's okay. That's what makes it easy with these blankets, that you can give or take a stitch here and there and still come out with a beautiful structure on the sides and the corner. So let's go. First, I'm going to do a single crochet. So instead of skipping 2 stitches, I am just aiming for the middle stitch in the corner. So I'm doing single crochet, stretching out, making my puff stitch, then I'm making a chain, and I'm making another puff stitch into the same hole without a single crochet. So just straight puff stitch into the same hole. Oops. Let's try this again. So I had a puff stitch and a chain, and I'm going again into the same hole. Pulling through all 7 loops, securing with a chain and making another chain. That's it. That's all we're doing for the corner. And then we are coming out on the second, third, fourth side, whatever you are making, but it's a different side. So we were working here, now we're going perpendicular. Here we start counting every third stitch, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going with a single crochet, and I continue making this stitch combination of a puff stitch with a chain, and then again 1, 2, third stitch is a single crochet, and so on. Okay, and again 1, 2, third stitch is a single crochet. Let's see what it looks like. So this is my corner right now, and I think it looks very nice, and we continue to do so by making 2 puffs in each corner every time we go, and we will I will meet you at the very end to show you how to connect the last stitches of this round with the very first stitches of this round 2. This is what we have left. One, 2, 3. One more time. Well, I'm very glad that I don't have a perfect number of stitches. As you see, the ideal way to put the next puff would be 1, 2, 3 here. We could still do it and have less stitches between the last puff and the first puff. So we had this last puff and we have 4 stitches in between just because that's how I did it. I'm going to make my last puff into a 3rd stitch. So okay. Okay, puff. I made a puff and I am going to connect it to the top chain here. So yes, you will see a little bit of a difference here versus everywhere else. Now let's go to the round 3. One more thing I want to share is I only have a little bit of yarn left. So at this point, I'm going to switch the color of my yarn to a different color before I run out, because I don't have any more of this color. I'm choosing to go with a slightly lighter blue, kind of to lighten up my border because I have no other options. It's also Caron Simply Soft, just a lighter color. In this case, it's called a soft blue. So, in order for me to connect the yarn to go into the next round, I'm actually going to insert my hook into the last loops that I did and pull this new yarn through. Okay, it's a slightly different color. You probably won't even see the difference. Then we're gonna go into round 3. We will do 4 chains. Then I will pull out the yarn that was previously there. Now that I have 4 chains ready, I'm going to make a puff stitch at the top chain into the top chain of a previous puff stitch. And I'm securing it with a chain and making 1 more chain. Then I'm going to place my single crochet at the top of the next puff stitch. That's my single crochet. I'm stretching it out. I'm making puff stitch into that very same stitch, securing with a chain and making another chain. And I keep going all the way around until I reach the corner. Stretching, making a puff stitch into the top chain of the puff stitch of previous round, then making an extra chain at the top. Again, single crochet into the top of the puff stitch, stretch, a puff, extra chain, and go into the top of the next puff stitch. It looks very nice. I'm really happy with the color combination. I think it will be a nice border. And then we will have 1 more round to make it look nicer at the top. So I will meet you at the corner so we can see how we can navigate the corner of round 3. as we get to the corner, I am going to follow the same pattern, putting single crochet at the top of this puff stitch, stretch out, make a puff, secure, make a chain, and then I go into the next puff, the top of next puff, make a single crochet, stretch, secure, make a chain, and then I make another puff inside the same stitch. So this is my most corner placed puff, and that's where I do the double. I'm making a puff without making a single crochet. And then I move to the next puff as a normal pattern. So single crochet, stretch, a puff stitch, secure it, chain, and go into the next. Let me make this one last one, and then we will look at this corner. Oops, I'm not doing it in the right stitch. Let's see. See how it's stretched? I didn't go into the top of the puff. I went in the previous stitch. I want to avoid that. So I'm going to go now, doing it correctly, going at the top, securing stitch of the puff. That's why we need it. Then I'm making a puff, secure the puff, make extra chain, and I will just place a single crochet into the top of the next puff. Now let's see what our corner looks like. So you will have a normal pattern going, and then that first of the two puff stitches, that's the one that has a double again. So if you potentially wanted to make more rounds of this puff stitch pattern, you could. Yeah, you can make this, continue this pattern as thick as you would like. So I hope this makes sense. I will meet you at the end of this round to show you the connection to the next. Here, let's make the last puff of this round. Single crochet at the top of the puff of previous round. Stretch. A puff. And secure it. And a chain. Now we are going to put a slip stitch into the top of the 4 chains at the beginning, like this. So this is the end of your round 3, and now we will go and make a little cute border, very simple, for the last round. If you wanted to continue with more of these rounds, they would be identical to the last round we did, round 3. So repeat that as many times as you would like to before going into the last round. We will call our last round round 4 because that's what it is in a pattern. And this is what it looks like. We're going to make a chain. Then we're going to go into the top of the previous puff with a slip stitch, 2 chains, slip stitch into the top of the puff, 2 chains, slip stitch into the single crochet, 2 chains, slip stitch in the top of the puff, 2 chains, slip stitch into the single crochet, and sew on. 2 chains and slip stitch, and 2 chains and slip stitch. Quite simple, but it makes a little like little shells up on top, and I personally think that this looks nicer than this. So if you do like this without the extra border, by all means go ahead and do that, but this is what I have in the pattern. So and we go like this all the way to the corner. Here we're getting to the corner. I'm following the same pattern, and in the corner I'm going to do slightly different variations. So 2 chains, I'm going to put a slip stitch in the corner, 2 chains, slip stitch into the same spot, into the same stitch in the corner. That's the only difference. And then you turn it and you keep going. Slip stitch, go in a single crochet here, and then slip stitch, go in at top, slip stitch, single crochet, slip stitch, the top of puff. So that's the corner that's been finished corner. And just to compare, this is the unfinished corner, and this is the corner with this little cute tip at the edge. So you choose if you want to keep it like this or if you want that last round. I prefer it this way. We are at the end of the last round. We're making a slip stitch at the top, in the top of the puff, last puff, and then making 2 more chains and a slip stitch into the top of the 4 chains. Okay, then we can cut off the yarn. And this is your and I'm going back and pulling yarn to the wrong side of work. So there's a little bit of seam here, but with the general feel of the blanket, you don't see it. And this is what we get. I feel like it's a pretty presentable, good border. Could go on any fleece. And babies love it. There are no big gaps to have fingers get stuck. I like that, so it's a safe border. And this is what it looks like. Let's see, this is what it looks like on the right side, and this is what it looks like on the wrong side. Not too bad. I hope you enjoyed learning this fleece crochet border for the baby blanket, and visit Crochet Connect and our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and come for more.